how science was also observed during those glorious battles, and we get into how the famous or the most popular scientists have affected and changed the history, not only in the Arab world, but also everywhere else in the world. And nobody else better to talk to us about these important stops in history than Dr. Bassam Shammaa, of course, the great historian, observer over history, and Egyptologist. Good evening, Dr. Shammaa, and happy Ramadan to you.
Good evening to you all, and happy Ramadan, and may peace be unto you and all the Muslim world and the whole world, the 7 billion people on planet Earth. Hope to them all the peace and all the progress that we are going to talk about, how the Muslim civilization and the Islamic civilization reached with the world to a very high caliber that we all hope, and definitely I hope, that we are going to be back one day to that level.
Hopefully, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Let's start off with the simple question, the holy month. How did the holy month, or why was the holy month in history associated with all the glorious acts? And let's take, for example, of course, last week was the 10th of Ramadan. 10th of Ramadan was associated with a very important day in our calendar. We are, as Egyptians, not as Arabs, but also the Arabs, because it was a day of solidarity. It coincides with, of course, with the 6th of October history and 1973 war, and in the Hijri calendar, the 10th of Ramadan, which was a great, glorious victory over the enemy. It was not that because we used an excellent strategy or we were on top of the military strategies of the world. It was because of the faith, and it was registered in reality. So if you would like to start off with that beautiful start, the 10th of Ramadan, why was Ramadan associated with glorious battles, and the 10th of Ramadan as an example?
For any army to achieve a great triumph or victory, you need that the soldier believe deeply in what he's going to do. This business of when the leadership sits with the soldiers and tell them, now you want to do this and this and that. In our case, the 10th of Ramadan, 6th of October, we want to regain our taken and usurped lands and rights. So in Islamic history, all through, including 10th of Ramadan, it is the faith, it is the faith, it is the faith. And that was all summarized in this great cry that shook the foundation of the enemy's foundations and bases, Allahu Akbar. This beautiful cry that we all saw in movies and in documentaries or remade documentaries of Allahu Akbar, in Ramadan, you are talking about people who achieved what they achieved while they were not eating, they were not drinking, and how come the world was astonished.
It is only spirituality.
I think as one day I explained to my group as a tour guide, I remember, now you remind me of this, and they say, how come? This is so hot. We were in Upper Egypt, you are talking all day. How come you are not drinking? You are drinking behind our backs. And I said, we do not drink, we do not eat until sunset. So we explained to them what is Sawm and what is fasting and this. And I explained to them this in one sentence. I said, in Ramadan, you switch off your physical needs, and then you switch on your spiritual mood, so that you can, because if you...
What a beautiful phrase. Can you repeat it again, please?
For you to achieve what we, I think what we do is that we switch off our physical needs, and we switch on our spiritual needs, the Islamic spiritual needs. And the route that we take from day one to the last day of Ramadan, I think is this, because if you calculate it, if you calculate the 10th of Ramadan, if you calculate to tell me 15 to 16 hours without drink, some people would come to me as well, non-Egyptians or non-Muslims, they will tell, you're going to get dehydrated. And I'm becoming 56 years of age now. I cannot recall since when I started fasting, but thank goodness, I never got dehydrated in Ramadan. So I am a living, if I'm talking about myself because that's experience that I experienced. I'm a living proof that if you do that sentence, is that can lead you to that successful thing. Hopefully that we continue the other 11 months in the Hijra calendar doing this, switching off our physical needs and switching. We're all humans, of course, but we try our best. We should try our best. I think what happened with Allahu Akbar, that you are one crossing a water barrier of the Suez Canal, that the enemy would push one button and it will turn to fire. And somebody mentioned that it would burn the fish in the water because of the napalm that they were kind of organizing if any attack happened to the other border. Well, of course, they did that and they blocked it. And so, thinking, working, science, faith we started with, number one, Allahu Akbar. We all recall this gentleman who's like holding on his shoulder while he's climbing the bar lev barrier, because bar dash lev, so bar, we call it bar leaf here in Egypt, in our colloquialism, this is bar lev. So the bar lev barrier, and he is holding over his back this huge, heavy cannon. Or even that beautiful leather, which is made out of ropes and wood. Who could carry that such weight?
While he's fasting.
While he's fasting. While he is
thirsty.
Allahu Akbar. And we all know that when we don't eat, our power and our, I don't know, energy and this and that, and all the physical explanations. But it seems that the belief will make you, will actually take all this business of, you're going to be weak. Oh, you didn't drink your tea in the morning, you're going to be sleepy. I mean, how many times you heard a friend of yours complaining that they are not drinking their, I don't know, coffee or whatever in the morning, so he's not in the mood, he's not awakened yet. Get me my coffee. But for 30 days or something, you are not drinking your coffee. And this gentleman who screamed Allahu Akbar, I think that's faith, that's faith, that's faith. And then getting into, and remember that for you, for example, Muhammad al-Masri, let's take the genius Muhammad al-Masri. I met the gentleman this year. Muhammad al-Masri, to those who would like to recall the name of this amazing hero, amazing hero, he lives now in Bahira. And I invited him on the 9th, celebrating the Martyr Day, the Abdul Mun'im Riyad. God bless his soul in heaven. And he's 70 years of age, Muhammad al-Masri now. Muhammad al-Masri is the tanks hunter.
The tanks hunter. What a popular. And he was mentioned in the world media back then in 1973.
The world media were kind of mind-boggled. How come a soldier who can hunt 27 tanks of the enemy, okay, out of 30, he's got in his possession, he's got 30 rockets. So out of the 30 rockets, it's 27. And in his mind, he was thinking, I do not want to miss a rocket because the money that bought this rocket is from the Egyptians' pockets. And that's what he said.
There are many of them, and even Abdul Ati,
for example,
many of them.
And so I'm taking one example, you are mentioning the second, and I'm sure there are thousands of examples.
Thousands.
Okay. Now, when I was 11 years of age, one personal experience, my family took me to Bar Lev barrier and took me to Suez Canal, and we visited Suez and we saw that barrier. And I'm telling you, if somebody is at the top of this sand barrier, Bar Lev, and you are down there, if he was using, I don't know, a small pebble, he would defeat you. The climbing that you see in movies and the climbing of the sand, and this is so difficult when you see it in reality. That's number one. Number two, don't forget that you were fighting who? You were fighting one of the greatest, if it was not at that time the greatest military move and the greatest military, if you like, arsenal in the world, and that's the US. So all of this, plus of course the intelligence and the smartness, but what I'm trying to say here is, when you are fasting, I'm talking about 10th of Ramadan and other military triumphs in Ramadan, when you are fasting, you would consider, my mind is not working right, wait until I finish.
And that's normal,
okay?
Physically normal.
So how come the concentration? Again, that's another thing that surprises me. That how come thousands of soldiers were so focused on what they are doing, and in a very short interval of time, they defeated the enemy, they regained our dignity, and the enemy was going round and round, and you can only read what Golda Meir said or Moshe Dayan said when they said, oh, we were surprised, well, we are going to go, we are gone, we're history. Save us, US.
It was not only a military strategy that was applied and implicated during that 6 hours, but also the whole saga. I mean, it was a complete epic. You know, the songs that were related back then at that time, it was the lyrics of the songs, the music, the composition, and everything, the spirituality among the people, the nation itself, and the citizens. It was a complete epic that could never be repeated again.
You remind me.
If you'd like to shed light over that.
Thank you. Because I was 11 years of age in Alexandria, and I remember somebody passed by my father, and he saluted him. How did he salute him? He said, Sabah al-Nasr ya doctor. The morning of triumph, my doctor. That was how they saluted my father. He saluted my father, putting the word triumph, because everybody was so proud of what this amazing army did. Now, the songs, the push, the power, the energy. Now, don't let me compare. Or would you allow me to do that?
Of course, you're free to do. You're our guest.
I am not happy with some of the latest songs. I'm not happy. We need, the Egyptian army need, okay, there are a couple, or I can remember 3 or 4. I remember there was a very short one made, I think, by Amr Mustafa, I think, the children. They were wearing military. That was a beautiful one. But I've seen that video clip about Sinai. I'm not happy at all. I don't know who's doing his ponytail and this, the singers. No.
But if you can allow me to just add my own personal, or I'm not supposed to add anything, but maybe people would say that it is normal everywhere, not only in Egypt, but everywhere else in the world, that type and quality of art and music is rare now. And look at the internet, I mean, the global type of music and art. When we're talking about Baligh Hamdi as a composer and another excellent, amazing, unforgettable person who writes the lyrics, and everybody who were, collaborating in that particular epic, you can compare that also to the times when they had Pink Floyd back then in the 60s and the 70s, when there was the other very famous bands like The Doors, like Eric Clapton, like Jimi Hendrix, like, I mean, those people.
You're showing our age now, my dear.
You can never compare them to those people who are.
But what about the songs of the 60s? Our songs of the 60s.
It was also unforgettable.
It was beautiful. Are you kidding me? All those operatic things, Abdul Wahab, and the gathering. And the gathering, like, I don't know, Shadi Abdul Halim, Warda, I don't know who, Nagah Salam, all in one song, and then Abdul Wahab at the end ends the whole thing.
And I think that's a common problem, not only in our Arab world. But that was...
But the songs, I think, like Ala Rabada, and I think, I love the song of, I think it was Abdul Wahab, Daqat Sa'at al-Amal, all this business of the energizing of the people, putting beautiful fuel for you to go and work. I love how many times you've heard Fairuz and the song about Zahrat al-Madain and al-Quds, and how Palestine, and this song is, when I was in al-Quds, when I was in the old city of al-Quds, few steps away from Al-Aqsa Mosque in 2012 and 2013, this song of Fairuz was always, I'm not a Fairuzan, because I know there are people who are Kulthumans and all are Fairuzans, but this song of how Al-Ghadab al-Hadir and all these songs that keep on playing on my ears. I went to Beit Lahm, I visited the churches, and all those. So, a song, you have to be this is my message. 10th of Ramadan, 6th of October, 1967, okay, Salah Shaheen with his words and so on, this business of Abdul Halim, and they thought that the songs of the 60s was a little bit diverging the people from reality. I think that's one of the criticism. And I say, okay, because like one of the people mentioned about how they were depressed a little bit after 1967, or very depressed, not little bit. Of course you have to be depressed after 1967. You're a human. And I was very depressed when people were mentioning 1967. And I lecture. I give lectures, a lot of lectures. So there are parts of history that, for example, day after tomorrow, I'm not happy